Alright guys, I did not anticipate setting crossovers taking that long. Again, I usually know right about where I set them, especially based on equipment in this vehicle. With that being said though, I'm talking to you guys a whole lot and having to kind of explain, each step I'm doing and why I'm doing it. I went and took a quick RTA graph after I lowered the mids, and that's actually looking a whole lot better. I know it looks like the tweeters are a lot lower than the mid is. With that being said, this big old dip here is just a function of the car, and when you actually listen to it, it sounds like it should be. If you play like a 2K tone, 2.5K tone, and the 3K tone, they all sound really level. So there's really no dip there, so that's just on the RTA. And again, it's a dip, so it's a whole lot less severe than a peak. Speaking of peaks, there's a little bit of a peak right here. I got my crossover set at, I think, 3,500 and 4,500. But right about 4.6, 4.8, there's that nice little peak there, 4.74. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can take care of that with the crossover. So I'm going to go ahead and take the tweeter crossover and let's bring that up just for showing purposes, about 5650, and see what that does to that kind of little 4K peak there. And really, I do about 180 to 100 averages each one. You guys can do more or less, find out what works for you, but I find by about the time you get to 70 or 80, the graph's not really moving, so I'll go ahead and show that to you. And by the time it's not moving anymore, you already got a really good solid average, so let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so as you guys can see, that really did help level out that peak. Most cars right around the 4 to 5K area have some sort of peak in it. Personally, I think it's a lot from the glass. But so anyway, you can go ahead and do that for all your speakers. And let's go ahead and shut all these off. We'll bring the mid bass in, which is down in the doors. The mids are up in the dash. And of course, tweeters are here on the sail panel. Those are going to get changed out soon, but that's another story for another time. And let's go ahead and do the mid bass and see what it's doing. Alrighty, so that is the mid bass. Obviously my mid range is playing down, what I set the crossover at, 300 hertz or something like that. Yeah, mid's playing down to 300 up to 3300 essentially. Let's go ahead and take the mid bass and put a low pass filter on it and set that down to 50 hertz for now. And let's go ahead and put a high pass on it. Now I'll show you guys why I usually separate these some. In a car, it's always very full and resonant, so if I went ahead and took a reading, let's turn the mid bass on, or the mids on. So the mid-bass level is definitely up some from the mids, but that's just a quick, easy fix. But anyway, right here where they're crossed over together, that's kind of like that nice little hump, and I know it's level with this stuff, but you'll be really surprised if you just separate these out some. It really sounds a lot more natural. Sorry, I hope you guys could hear me talking over that pink noise. Anyway, when you separate your crossovers out some, I find it's a lot more natural sounding. This is going to change some things, but I already know I like Linkwitz crossovers in this car with this equipment best. So I already did those. Let's go ahead and change all this before I forget. Hold on, guys. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick reading of the subs and see what those are doing. Let's turn the mid bass off. Turn the subs on. Alright, so naturally the subs fall off about 200 hertz. They're 15-inch subs, so I mean, they're not meant to play real high. But I'm going to bring those down to, let's say, 50 for now. And what's the mid bass at? 55. Bring those up to about 68. And play those together and see how those are acting with each other. We'll need to set time alignment with those, obviously. But alright, let's see how those are playing together in that region. All right, not too bad at all. This nice little hump here, to make it easier for you guys. Right at about 40 hertz, 20 hertz, 30, or yeah, 40 hertz, 30 hertz. You'd be surprised, a lot of that's actually coming from the mid bass and not the mid itself. So I'll go ahead and bring the mid bass back up some. And play with these. I think you guys get the idea. You want a nice smooth transition from one speaker to the next, and one speaker set from the next to the next. If you guys have any questions, post up in the comments. I'll try and keep it updated and answer any questions you guys have. Obviously, if you don't want to, or if you don't want to make the speaker play lower than it can, causes a lot of distortion. Even if the speaker's not bottoming out, you'd be surprised how much distortion it's causing. Basically, the more a speaker moves, the more it's distorting. So with that being said, the more your speakers you move, the worse they're going to sound. I know it's really cool to make your 6.5s play down to 20 or 30 hertz. Uh, that being said, it really doesn't. It really muddies up the mid bass and the mid range. Um, it just doesn't sound good, in my opinion. Some people like it. Some people like to say that they can do it. That's cool. Um, these speakers I have in here, the Stereo Integrity TM65s, they will dig down very low and do a great job doing it, but it's still a 6.5-inch speaker, so it's got to move more. I don't care how efficient it is, blah, blah, blah. A 6.5-inch speaker has to move X amount to make a certain SPL level. So the more it's moving, the less it's doing it accurately, especially in the bass region. So I wouldn't personally set a 6.5-inch crossover less than 50 hertz or so. 40 hertz is pushing it. I've done it, it's worked, but again, when I brought the crossover up some more, it was doing a better job. I know you want to try and get all that bass up front, but we're going to try and do that with time alignment and, excuse me guys, but not with the speaker so much. If you have a subwoofer, I'm assuming you do because you're watching these videos, let the subwoofer do its job. Sub frequencies are 60 and below, give or take depending on who you talk to, but generally 60 and below is considered sub frequencies. Let the subwoofer do its job. I usually, last year, I was running at World Finals. My subs were playing up to, what was it? 60 hertz, I think. 63, I think I had them set at. And my mid bass was at like 75 or 78, something like that. So let the sub do its job. In car audio, people really try and push speakers beyond their limits to try and get the stage kind of forward and up as much. So they try to make their tweeters play really low. They try to make their mids play really low. They try to make their mid bass play really low. Because if the mid's playing down to, say, 100 hertz, it's really easy to get everything from 100 hertz and up on the dash and up, in the middle of the windshield where it should be. But it doesn't really sound good doing it. So just keep an eye on that. I know I'm way over on my time. I'm going to go ahead and set my crossovers and play with it some more. And I'll show you guys the final results and see what we can come up with. All right, guys, I'm back. I just wanted to show you kind of what I ended up with. Like I said, that peak is really not there when you're listening, or that dip is really not there when you're listening to it. So don't be concerned with that. Usually that would be, kind of look a little bit like that. And overall, I mean, that's what you want. Bass is about 10 dB higher. I would like to see this. We'll fix that later with some EQ. Kind of slope down from about 50 hertz down to about 125-ish, and then level off across, and then kind of slope out towards the top end about 2 or 3K, kind of roll off slightly. This peak obviously will have to get fixed. It's 130 hertz. So I can go ahead and fix that real quick with an EQ. So basically what you'd be looking at is your bass, and then roll off to your mid range, and kind of flatten out, then roll off to the top end. But like I said, we'll fix that with EQ later. Not really worried about that right now. Obviously, the processor doesn't have any EQ work done anywhere. So we'll go ahead and worry about that, like I said, later. And with that, I will go ahead and sign off. I've got to go do some shopping with the wife. And I will catch up with you guys a little bit later. And I'll try and go ahead and get this video uploaded for you guys soon. I know a lot of you guys are anxious, and letting you know that they'll be coming quicker and more often. So in the SQ tuning series, crossovers being volume 1, kind of safety gains, all that kind of stuff, volume 1. But really the SQ tuning portion of it be the first one. So you guys take it easy, and I will see you later.